Ohio State has been crushing the portal, y'all. They've been crushing the transfer portal. Portal combat going on in Columbus. And most notably over the weekend, you landed the top player in the transfer portal in Caleb Downs, safety from Alabama, do it all kind of cat for you. And then you also landed the top quarterback from the 2024 cycle who was already enrolled and going through practice at Alabama. Nick Saban retires. He's like, hey, listen, I moved my entire life from California to Alabama to play for Nick Saban. I'm going to look for somewhere else to play. And so he ends up transferring to Ohio State. To me, this is Ryan Day stuffing the suitcase as much as possible. Think about it this way. Ohio State, the 2024 season is national championship or bust. Period. Like, that was the goal even before they made these portal acquisitions. But by nature of how they've attacked the portal, that pressure is just continuing to ratchet up. I haven't even talked about Will Howard, who they landed through the portal, who's going to be their quarterback for them this season. Quinshon Judkins, I believe the top running back via the portal, is going to probably get a healthy dose of carries along with Trevion Henderson this season. I think they have the best running back duo in the country. But going back to that whole conversation around stuffing the suitcase, like, Ohio State is packing for a journey to the national championship. And to be real, you don't know what it's going to take throughout the course of your season until you get there. And so just like you would when you're packing for a trip, like, it's better to have it and not need it. So Ohio State, what they're trying to do right now is just pack the suitcase as full as humanly possible to where you have to, like, sit on top of that thing to zip it up so they're set for whatever the college football season throws at them. And I think the fun take that we've heard across the board here is, well, this is Michigan and what they've done winning the national championship, applying more pressure to Ryan Day and going 0-3 these last 3 years. Like, I don't think that's necessarily untrue. I think that's probably a part of it. But I think as much as Michigan is creating pressure for Ohio State, I think it's been a tremendous filter for Ohio State to figure out what they need to do. Because think about the last 3 tries for Ohio State against Michigan. They haven't had what they needed in November. The first 2 tries, it was, hey, our defense is not nearly good enough. We're getting run up and down the field. We have to be better on defense. So what do? Ryan Day, credit to him, adapts, hires Jim Knowles, takes a couple of seasons, but that defense becomes a top 5, top 10 unit in the country. Okay, so then you go and play Michigan in Ann Arbor. Well, what happens? They got the ball. They're driving as Ohio State to have a chance to win the football game against Michigan. The offense can't come up with it. So what were they missing? What did they need in that suitcase? Elite quarterback play. They didn't have it. And so for Ohio State now, as much as Michigan probably is applying some pressure for them to up the ante a little bit, the pressure is always enormous in Columbus. Like, anytime your standard is to go undefeated and win the national championship, that's the standard. Like not the podium that you're reaching for, not like the overachievement. That's the standard, what they expect. Like, of course, the pressure is immense. And so what Michigan, I think, has forced them to do is self-evaluate and say, okay, we need to have the very best roster possible, have this suitcase packed all the way full to where when we get in that situation again against Michigan, we have what we need. We're not going to be rummaging around saying, oh, we don't have elite quarterback play. Oh, our defense isn't good enough. Oh, we don't have the right safety play. It's not going to be the case for them this year, or at least that's the way they're approaching this thing by how they've attacked the transfer portal and also attacked on the recruiting trail. Jeremiah Smith, number 1 player in the country, going to be a dog for them. Also, let's talk about this too, because I think Julian Sayin, him committing to Ohio State, you probably felt a couple of different emotions if you're an Ohio State fan. One, you're fired up. Hey, the top cat from 2024 just committed to us? Oh yeah, let's roll, baby. We're set for a while now. Then the other side of y'all started to think, whoa, okay, well, I'm just doing the math here, and I understand the law of transfers and quarterbacks, like having 5 cats in that room. Will Howard, shout out Walker Howard, though. Will Howard, Devin Brown, Lincoln Keenholtz, Air Noland, and Julian Sayin. That's a lot of dudes that all expect to play. Not to mention Air Noland and Julian Sayin are in the exact same class, so you would have to believe like it's going to be tough to keep all those dudes on our roster, correct? I have a couple of thoughts. First, I think at least for spring football, all these dudes understand what they've signed up for. From what I've heard, Air Noland is locked in. He's like, listen, iron sharpens iron. Let's get after it. So you love that from your quarterbacks. The other part of this, though, for those of you thinking, is this going to blow our quarterback room up, having Julian Sayin in the mix now? I don't know if I would look at it that way. Let's just kind of walk through the worst case scenario and say, okay, eventually somebody does leave. I don't know who it would be, but let's just say somebody does leave at some point in time from that quarterback room at Ohio State. What would that tell you about the number of reps they're more than likely getting behind closed doors? right? That sounds like natural selection to me. And that doesn't mean whoever leaves can't play. It just means that somebody else gives you a better chance to win football games to where they're getting more reps during the week. That's how it works, right? Like that's not anybody's fault. It's just the way that it works. So I think the competitive pressure that's going to be applied to this quarterback room every single day, it's going to squeeze everybody. But to the exact same token, man, it's going to get the best out of everybody. And so in that way, whoever takes the field for you, whether it's, after this year, obviously Will Howard's your guy, but whether it's next year, it's Julian Sayin, or it's Evan Brown, or it's Lincoln Keenholz, or it's Aaron Nolan, like whoever it is, they will have earned that by going through the gauntlet every day in practice against, one, that really talented Buckeye defense, but two, against everybody they have to compete with in that quarterback room, in meetings, in position drills, during scrimmages. Like, they will have earned the right to play quarterback at Ohio State. So will it blow the quarterback room up? I don't think I'd look at it that way necessarily. Now, one more thing we got to talk about here. We talked about it on the live show, or on the video yesterday. I want to talk about it right now on the live show since we're all here together. There is a phrase or an argument that's always made for different fan bases whenever an opposing fan base starts to land top talent through the portal. The thought is, well, hey, they landed that player because they threw him an NIL bag. Well, hey, they're only getting him because they bought him. That's the phrase you hear a lot on Twitter. And the thing I would say back to that is, like, is that not modern college football right now? Is that not the world we're living in right now? I understand the thought behind, like, oh, well, they're not committing there for the system. No, they're committing there because they're getting a pretty attractive NIL package that probably factors in. I'm not saying that's the case for any of these guys that Ohio State's landing because I don't know the specific situation. But I think what we have to talk through here is let's just assume that is the case. Let's assume that the NIL package is what's helping land a lot of these top guys. Is that not just money well spent if it turns out to be a national championship for Ohio State? If one of those guys ends up making the game-winning play for Ohio State to beat Michigan, is that not just a good investment? Because right now, if you're doing it within the rules, then NIL is a factor to help you land these top kids, or a top factor to attract these top kids. Like, I think that's just modern college football. So what I said yesterday, and I'll say again right now, either use the portal with NIL, two factors that are very, very real in college football right now, or have it used against you. Period. The end. Like, I don't want to speak to Clemson and what they're doing from an NIL standpoint because I just don't know, but we're seeing them not use the portal. So what's happening? They're getting passed by teams that do use the portal. Florida State, a portal-active team, just beat Clemson at Clemson this past year with the game-winning touchdown being by a wide receiver who you have to imagine had some NIL package that helped attract him to Florida State. More power to him. More power to him. Play by the new rules or get passed. And Ohio State's saying, okay, these are the new rules. Okay, we have folks that are in our corner here that can help us have the NIL resources to land top guys. Let's get after it then. Let's go. So I love it. I wouldn't yell about being broke either, just to be honest. I wouldn't maybe shout, oh, they just bought him. If that's the case, if you're implying that it was solely about NIL and they were going to the highest bidder, that means your school could have got him too. But they didn't pony up what they were supposed to pony up. I'm not saying that's the case here, but I'm saying if that's the theoretical you want to walk through, I don't know that always reflects the best way that you would like it to. So, food for thought there. But Ohio State, killing the portal, landing Caleb Downs, landing Julian Sayin. We talked about Will Howard and Quinshon Judkins, like, they're rolling. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.